3, 2, 1.
Welcome into the Sports Tree Studio, folks, for this week's edition of Trees 3. I'm Conner Rowntree. The format of Trees 3 is very simple. We're going to run through and break down the three biggest sporting events of the weekend, give you full previews for those events and some best bets to look out for. And this show this weekend, particularly, is stacked. We have the Formula One, the United States Grand Prix going down on Sunday. We also have UFC and PFL. Francis Ngannou's getting back in the cage in the PFL to fight for the World Heavyweight Championship, plus a UFC card from Vegas. So we're going to run through every one of those fights. I believe we're running through 20 fights on this show with previews, analysis, breakdowns, all that good stuff. And then, of course, Sunday football, breaking down every single one of those games. And we have some best bets that we really like for those games. So make sure you head over to sportstree.ca right now and download the pick packages for NFL Week 7 and the UFC and PFL pick package for Saturday's action. But we're going to get this all started off with the Formula One United States Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas, going down just outside of Austin, Texas at 3 p.m. on Sunday. One thing to note, there is a sprint, so there will be some action going down at 2 p.m. on Saturday. A few extra points up for grabs this weekend at the United States Grand Prix. And then qualifying will be happening at 6 p.m. on Saturday. But as for the race on Sunday, if we're looking at this from a betting standpoint, from a historic standpoint, you have to look at Max Verstappen. He is the current points leader, and he has won the last 3 iterations of this event. So you may be thinking, well, Max Verstappen has to be the betting favorite, right? Wrong! It's the McLarens. Yes, you have to look to Lando Norris as the betting favorite, followed by Oscar Piastri. Now, McLaren has won 3 out of the last 4 races entering this weekend's Grand Prix, with Lando Norris winning 2 of those, so that's why he's the betting favorite. However, if we're looking to play money on this race, I'm looking for another Brit. I'm looking at Lewis Hamilton. Since the United States Grand Prix moved to the Circuit of the Americas in 2012, Lewis Hamilton has 5 wins and 9 podium finishes in the 11 editions of this race. He's also never finished worse than 4th. Last year, he finished 2nd. However, he was disqualified due to a technical breach after the race. So if you head over to DraftKings right now, you can get him at plus 165 for a top 4 finish. Outside of being disqualified once, he's literally never finished outside of the top 4. That is absurd at this track. And then if we look at him this season and the form that he's in, after a tough start to the year, Hamilton went on a tear over the summer. Since the Canadian Grand Prix, he's racked up 6 consecutive top 4 finishes, 5 podiums, and a pair of wins. If Hamilton can find that summer form and implement his track knowledge, hitting another top 4 finish here is more than attainable at a track that he knows, that he loves, that he dominates at. So give me Lewis Hamilton for a top 4 finish at plus 165. All right, folks, coming in at number 2 on the docket this week is the UFC and the PFL action going down on Saturday. Just a mammoth MMA Saturday, if you will. We'll start with the PFL, the Battle of the Giants, Francis Ngannou versus Renan Ferreira, and this is going to be a great card. It's actually much better than the UFC card, and we're going to get it all started with Tariq Ismail versus Taha Benoud. Now, I got to go with Tariq Ismail in this one. It's in his backyard. He's the more versed mixed martial artist, and I think he goes out there and wins this fight in his backyard. Taha Benoud is fairly green to professional mixed martial arts, being just 3-0. However, he did have an excellent amateur career. I just think Ismail is too well-rounded for him for this stage of his career. Moving up the card, it's Zanikoff versus Sanders. Now, I have to take Zanikoff in this one. He's rattled off 4 straight wins on the regional scene against some pretty solid competition. He's extremely strong, and he knows how to win minutes inside the cage. Sanders already has that first PFL win under his belt and is a prolific finisher with 6 of his 9 wins coming by way of stoppage. The problem for Sanders here is that he leaves openings with that aggressive style that he implements, and Zanikoff is good enough both on the feet and in his grappling to catch him overextending and turn that into a position to win minutes and win moments in this fight, so you have to ride with Zanikoff. Rufion Stotts versus Marcus Brennan. Now, Rufion Stotts is actually a former Bellator champion and one of the best bantamweights on the planet. In fact, he's only lost to, in my opinion, the 2 best bantamweights on the planet, Merab Dvalishvili, current UFC champion, and Patchy Mix, current Bellator champion. So, Marcus Brennan, 15-3, young guy, a solid prospect. He's going to make this a fight. He is a dog. However, this is just a massive step up in competition. Stotts is the real deal. Take Stotts to win this fight. pretty handily. AJ McKee versus Paul Hughes. Now, just like the last fight we talked about, this is a massive step up in competition for the Irishman. Paul Hughes, he's an excellent prospect, but AJ McKee is a former Bellator champion who just dusted PFL lightweight champion Clay Collard in the first round via submission. He's one of the best lightweights and most well-rounded lightweights on the planet, and Paul Hughes, I just think this is too much too soon. So give me McKee to win this fight, especially at -175. Zafar Mohsen versus Hussein Katamegamayev. Now that was fun to say, but give me Katamegamayev in this one. He's a 10-1 favorite, and for a good reason. The Swiss product has finished all but one of his 11 victories, and Zafar Mohsen has been finished in 3 out of his 4 losses. This is a cruising for a bruising. And give me the Swiss Army knife in this one. I think he's going to absolutely outclass the German. Johnny Elbin taking on Fabian Edwards for the middleweight Bellator championship, and I gotta go with Johnny Elbin in this one. He's one of the best middleweights on the planet and would be a threat in the UFC title picture. We've also already seen this song and dance, and it ends with Fabian Edwards' head getting bounced off the canvas like Michael Jordan before dropping a free throw. It's bad. Fabian Edwards was knocked out by Elbin the last time they fought. Fabian Edwards, he's an excellent fighter, good at controlling the range. The difference is that Elbin has the skills to hang with him on the feet and then has a massive grappling advantage. And I think he's also got the strength advantage in this fight. So look for Johnny Elbin to win this fight yet again, the second iteration of this fight. But I like him to do it this time by decision. Chris Cyborg versus Larissa Pacheco. Now, a lot of money's coming in on Larissa Pacheco, and Chris Cyborg is the underdog, so give me Chris Cyborg as a dog. Pacheco, yeah, she hasn't lost since 2019, and she's the younger, stronger fighter. However, Cyborg is built different. Her last loss came to Amanda Nunes back in 2018, a fight she desperately wanted to rematch, and that wasn't given to her. So she's simply taken out her anger on every single woman she's seen since. Since that loss to Nunes, she's 4-0 in the boxing ring with a pair of knockouts and 7-0 in MMA with 5 knockouts. Despite being 40 years old, I am putting my hard-earned money on Chris Cyborg to go out and win this fight. She's just the much better boxer. And I don't know what else Pacheco really brings to the fight other than stand, maul, and brawl. That is Cyborg's game. Give me Chris Cyborg. Francis Ngannou versus Rena Fahea. Now, Francis Ngannou is a huge favorite with a slight skill advantage. However, he's fresh off a career crippling KO at the hands of Anthony Joshua, like the most brutal knockout I've seen in some time. Like, that's up there with Rumble Johnson knocking out Glover Teixeira. Like, it was bad, man. I was worried for Francis's life in that ring. And now he's 38 years old with a speed disadvantage, being the smaller man. Yes, Ngannou should win this fight, but betting him as a -250 favorite is ill-advised. Give me the under here. I think somebody's getting starched. Francis Ngannou, we know the knockout power that's in his hands. Renan Fahea, we know the knockout power in his hands. Francis Ngannou, we just talked about it, was starched in his last fight. Someone's going down here. All right, folks, from the PFL in Saudi Arabia, we're hopping on a jet and we're flying to Las Vegas for a little UFC action. The first fight on the card is Austin Lane versus Robulis Despain. And give me Despain via knockout. Austin Lane, he's an excellent athlete, a former professional football player. However, he's at a skill and reach disadvantage here and power disadvantage, and he doesn't have the chin. He's been knocked out in consecutive fights. Despain is an absolute beast. Give me Despain by knockout. Melissa Martinez versus Alice Anderline. I don't care. Neither woman is UFC caliber, and both of them lost their first UFC appearances. I don't care about this fight at all, and I'm not stupid enough to bet on this. If you're betting on this fight, 1-800-GAMBLER. You need help. Jessica Pena versus Elise Reed. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but give me Elise Reed at -180. That's actually pretty good value, seeing how I just want to fade Jessica Pena. Pena is 40 years old. She hasn't won a fight since 2021, and she's lost 5 out of her last 7 octagon appearances. Elise Reed isn't great, but her last 2 losses were to solid competition, and she should be able to out-hustle Penne for a victory in this one. So give me Elise Reed. I like the value of her winning this fight, and she really should win this fight. You can't be losing to Jessica Pena, whatever. Jocelyn Edwards versus Tamirs Vidal. Now, fun fact, Melissa Gatto knocked out Tamirs Vidal with a titty punch. I'm not kidding. She punched her in the tit and knocked her out. Jocelyn Edwards is a strong woman, and if Gatto is knocking you out with a punch to the breast, Jocelyn Edwards is going to rip you to pieces. So give me Jocelyn Edwards in that one. Jean Matsumoto versus Brad Katona, and your best bet here is the over. Use it in a parlay spot. I love the over in this fight. Katona has seen the final bell in all 7 of his UFC appearances. Jean Matsumoto, well, he's gone to decision in 6 out of his 15 pro fights and 3 out of his last 5. As he's gone up to fight that upper echelon of competition, he's not just crushing tomato cans anymore. He's going to decision. So give me the over in this fight. I like this fight to go to distance at dash 300, and I think you can use that as a parlay booster. Mathis Nicolau versus Azu Almabayev. I like Mathis Nicolau here. I like him quite a bit. I think he could win this fight by outpointing Almabayev on the route to victory. However, the problem is Almabayev is a mauler and he has the grappling advantage, and Nicolau simply has a chin of dust. He's been knocked out in consecutive fights and thrice in the UFC. So there's no way I can't put my money on Nicolau. I don't trust his chin to withstand the shots in any fight, really. I bet him last time, and he got knocked out after looking great early on. So we're going to stay away from this fight. I do like Nicolau's skill, but Almabayev just has an easy path to victory by just landing one shot to the chin. Moving up the card to Darren Elkins versus Daniel Pineda, and I just have one question. Who's the sick fuck that sanctioned this? We are watching CTE form in real time with Darren the Damage Elkins. His nickname is literally The Damage. Well, he's finding ways to wrestle now and win some fights. He's getting rocked in absolutely every fight. And Daniel Pineda, well, he isn't a world beater. He just needs one. I don't know if he's the guy to find the chin. I want to fade Darren Elkins, but Pineda hasn't given me enough to be like, yeah, this is the bet to make. So I don't trust Darren Elkins. I literally think we're watching CTE progress in real time with him, and Daniel Pineda just isn't the guy to take advantage of Elkins' lack of brain activity. Jake Hadley versus Cameron Sutherland. Now, earlier in the week, I had a bet against Jake Hadley when he was about to fight Brady Highstand, because I was like, Brady Highstand, grappling advantage, is going to be able to survive the first round, put a pace, and tire out Jake Hadley. Put a pace on him and just drown him later in the fight. The problem is Cameron Sutherland's coming in on like last day notice, literally on days notice here, so I can't trust him. I can't trust him in this spot. There's just too many unaccounted for variables heading into this fight, so this is a stay away spot for us. Charles Johnson versus Sumaraji. Both these men are 16-6, as Mike Goldberg would say, virtually identical. Despite having the exact same record, I think Charles Johnson is a much better fighter, and he'll win on Saturday because of it. Well, he does have the worst haircut in the UFC. He does possess some pretty clean striking and can be sniper-esque when he's on his game. Sumaraji is just 3-3 in the UFC and has lost back-to-back fights via submission. Johnson is a wild card, no doubt, but when he's on his game, he wins this fight wherever it goes. Give me Charles Johnson. Rob Font taking on Kyler Phillips in the co-main event. Now, Rob Font, he is a legend of the bantamweight division. I tip my cap to him, but he's lost 4 of his last 5 fights and is on the heavy decline. In contrast, Kyler Phillips' stock is on the rise with 3 straight victories and has won 7 out of his 8 fights under the UFC banner. Phillips should utilize his wrestling and put a pace on Rob Font to dominate him in this fight. Font's going to be dangerous early with his boxing. However, Kyler Phillips just has too many weapons in the tool shed that he can go to throw Rob Font out of that boxing rhythm. Because if Font gets going, he's an excellent fighter. I just don't see him hanging with Phillips in the grappling the later this fight goes on. And as for your main event, folks, it's Anthony Fluffy Hernandez taking on Michel Pereira, and this breakdown is very easy. If Hernandez can survive the first 10 minutes, he's going to win this fight. Pereira is a bona fide wild man. His awkward movements and timing does create space for him to land his powerful shots on his opponents. The problem is he's so wild and so active in the cage that he gasses himself out. This is his first 5-rounder. He's never been 5 rounds. Fluffy Hernandez is a cardio machine, and I think he can take Pereira's best shots. So look for Pereira to win the first couple rounds, maybe even dominate them, but I like Hernandez to hang in there, and a live bet on Hernandez here could be a really sharp play. But give me Hernandez to win this fight. Just turn this into a war of attrition and drown Pereira in the later rounds. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's the best time of the day. It's time to talk a little NFL football. We went 9-4 with our best bets last week. We're now up to 56-28 on the year for a profit of 23.4 units. We went 3-2 on Thursday Night Football, and we're back in action for Sunday's Week 7 slate. And it all gets started over in jolly old England between the Patriots and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And my advice is sleep in. Who gives a fuck? The Jaguars are 5.5-point favorites, and my question is why? They're terrible. Both teams are 1-5. Drake May, he looked pretty good last week. 3 tutties. I don't mind that in a debut. However, the Jaguars have their back up against the wall here. If Doug Peterson loses this game, he has to get fired. You can't go 1-6. You can't be losing to the Patriots, especially when you have that much money allocated to your player payroll. Quite simply put, you'd be better putting your money into a church donation Sunday morning. Spend some time with the wife and kids, have brunch, and enjoy your morning. And then get ready for the 1 o'clock slate with the Miami Dolphins and Indianapolis Colts. And these are 2 bad football teams that will produce another shitty game. So there's no reason that Joe Flacco should have been benched, and there's no real reason to tune into this game. Miami, maybe some value there, taking the points with them, but there's no way I'm laying points with this horrendous Indianapolis Colts team that's starting Anthony Richardson. I genuinely believe Joe Flacco gives them a better chance to win. Next up, folks, we're heading to Minnesota, where the Vikings are hosting the Lions for a battle atop the NFC North. Winner will be leading the NFC North after Week 7. Now, the Vikings are 1.5-point favorites in this one, and I just like this game to be a shootout. Look out for the running backs of the Lions to have a lot of success on the ground in this one. And then Sam Darnold, I just think he's a wild card. I've found it extremely hard to bet Vikings games this year. I've been avoiding them. I'm also going to be avoiding this spot. The model just doesn't see anything jumping off the page here. And look, the Vikings, they're just an enigma right now. I can't figure them out. Sam Darnold's looking like he did at USC. So if the Vikings can keep this offensive train rolling, this should be a fun game because we all know the Lions can score. Titans at the Bills, that is a massive point spread. Like, so to win by 10 points, you have to be doing something right in the NFL. And do we really trust Amari Cooper that much? I think the market is just extremely high on Amari Cooper coming to the Bills. I think the public money proves that. So this is another stay away spot. Well, I do think the Bills should win this football game, and they can cover this number. I'm not betting that number. The Seahawks are visiting the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to be laying the 2.5 points with the Falcons in this one. They're the better, healthier football team, and they're playing at home. Atlanta's averaging 33.3 points per game and have scored at least 36 points in back-to-back weeks. Additionally, Seattle's defense is surrendering over 35.7 points per game. That's high. Like Willie Nelson high. They're also just 1-4-1 against the spread this year. The model likes them to go to 1-5-1 against the spread come Sunday. We have 2 prop bets in this game, one of them being Geno Smith. We think that for him to keep pace in this game, he's going to have to air the ball out. He leads the NFL in passing yards this season. He's gone up over 280 yards in 5 consecutive games and over 300 yards in 3 out of those 5 contests. He's now taking on an Atlanta defense that sits 27th in pressure rate. That's just not good enough. So Geno Smith's playmakers on the outside, like Ty Lockett, like DK Metcalf, like JSN, are going to have time to get open. So look for the Seahawks to try to keep pace in this game by throwing the football. And as for Atlanta's offense, give me the mustard man, Bijan Robinson, to go up over 60.5 yards. I love Robinson in this spot. His hamstring is the best it's been in a few weeks, and he's had at least 12 rushing attempts in all but 1 game this season. Look, he crushed this line last week for 95 yards, and Seattle is giving up the 7th most rushing yards per game. If Bijan Robinson is feeling just an inkling better, he should get more snaps in turn and just dominate this line. This line is just simply way too low against this horrendous Seattle team, especially if there's garbage time. If the Seattle Seahawks are playing catch-up, you know Atlanta's going to be running the football in the second half. Houston Texans at the Green Bay Packers. Give me the over. Pending the weather in Green Bay this weekend, this should be a shootout. Houston has given up 20 or more points in 5 out of 6 games this season, and now they face a Packers attack that loves to have their starting quarterback back. See what I did there? Jordan Love, he led this Packers team to over 420 yards last week and 34 points. I love this Packers offense to keep clicking. Yes, they have a solid defense, but when CJ Stroud gets dragged into a dogfight, that's when we see the best CJ Stroud. I also like Stephon Diggs to have a big game in this one. Bengals versus Browns. This could be a trap. I'm going to take the Bengals to win, but 6.5 points is simply too many. The reason I like the Bengals to win this game is because the Browns defense blitzes at a 43% blitz rate. That is Seth Rogen high, and now they're taking on Joe Burrow, who absolutely eats the blitz alive. He has a 132 passer rating against the blitz and 5 tutties. That's Willie Nelson high. So you have the best quarterback in the NFL against the blitz going up a team that blitzes 43% of the time. The Bengals, they're 2-4. Their back is against the wall. There's no way they're losing to Deshaun Watson and the Browns. I like the Bengals to win this game, but I think that line is a trap. Look out for some prop bets over on sportstree.ca. Eagles and Giants, here we go. I love this matchup. Give me Saquon Barkley over on his rushing line of 75.5 yards. He's going back to New York. This is a revenge game. Saquon's going to go off. I don't know who's going to win this game. The Giants are just an enigma to me. They find ways to win weird games. The Eagles should be able to control the clock. If Sirianni loses this, he's got to go. So look out for Saquon Barkley to make some noise. But as for a bet, stay away from that. Your prop bet, Saquon Barkley, lock it in. He's been dominant this season. Raiders at Rams. This game is going to suck. Give me the Rams to cover the spread, I think. I don't know if that's going to be an official bet, but that is the lean at this point. This Raiders team outside of Brock Bowers looks terrible. Max Crosby is the only bright light on defense, and he can't do it all himself. I like the Rams to get back into their rhythm. Cooper Kupp should be back in action, and with Kyron Williams and Cooper Kupp healthy, I think this Rams offense is going to roll. Panthers visiting the Commanders, and give me the Commanders. They're at home. I'm laying the 8.5 points. Yes, that's a lot of points to ask for, but this Commanders team is lighting teams up like the 4th of July. They've scored at least 20 points in every single game and at least 34 points in 3 out of their 6 contests this season, and now they're taking on the Panthers. May I remind you that they're playing the Carolina Panthers, who absolutely suck. And then, folks, we get the best game of the day. It's the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the San Francisco 49ers, a rematch of the Super Bowl, and this is a spot to buy in on George Kittle. The Kansas City Chiefs have given up the most yardage to tight ends this season, and Kittle has at least 50 yards in consecutive games in 3 out of his last 5. A line of 50 yards at dash 125 is somewhere where I have to play George Kittle. He is the spark plug for this offense. Go watch that show, Receivers. This guy is the heart and soul of this Niners offense, and if they get him going, they should be able to win this game and put up a ton of points doing so. Kittle has also scored a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games played. He has over a 1/3 target share in the red zone for the San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy loves this guy in the red zone. We hit him last week for an anytime touchdown at plus 185. The market is catching up to it. He's plus 170 this week, but we can still get plus money on George Kittle to score a touchdown. We're going to take that to the bank. Sunday Night Football, it's the Jets visiting the Steelers. Devontae Adams will be in action for the Jets, but I don't really care because I'm looking at this Steelers team and I'm wondering why the hell are they starting Russell Wilson? Wilson has averaged just 1.3 passing touchdowns over the last 2 years and isn't the mobile QB a decade ago we saw in Seattle. He's averaging just 2.5 rushing touchdowns a season over the last 4 years. Now, if you're wondering where I'm going with this Russell Wilson rant, the Steelers team total is 18.5, and they've already gone under that line 3 times this season with Justin Fields at QB, and I don't think Russell Wilson is the guy to kickstart them. If anything, he could be a step down from Justin Fields. Furthermore, the Jets have given up just 18 points per game on average this season, the 7th fewest in the NFL. So I don't see how Russell Wilson's going to find much success when he can't throw the ball or scramble anymore. This is just a bad idea for Pittsburgh. Give me the Steelers team total under 18.5. Wow, am I ever exhausted? That was a lot. I'm breaking a sweat in here tonight. 20 fights, every single football game on the Sunday slate, and the Formula One Grand Prix preview. This was a show, folks. Now, if you want all of our best bets and access to our betting model, head over to sportstree.ca right now and download our pick package for the NFL. And then we're doing you guys a favor. We're combining our PFL and UFC pick package into one mega MMA package for the same price as a regular pick package this weekend. Or become a subscriber. Remember, if you upgrade your subscription, you upgrade your chances at winning. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Conner Rowntree. Cheers. You've made it to the weekend.
3, 2,